Hey guys, Robin here, and welcome to another movie review. A second. now, yeah, I know that I said I'd be reviewing Trick or Treat for Halloween, but I did not know that it. But I did not know how difficult reviewing an anthology film would be. So unfortunately, I had to bail on that. And today, instead, I'm reviewing a movie whose production was a real life horror story. This movie is from this is one of the most unlikely movies I'll ever review. Unlikely in the sense that it's insane that I own a copy of it. Now, oh god. Now today's film is called Pulgasari, a kaiju film from 1985 that hails from. Okay, before I tell you where this movie's from, you're gonna have to sit down. Okay, you good? Okay, this is a movie from North Korea. Yes, you heard that right. This is a movie from North Korea, executive produced by none other than Kim Jong Il. Yeah, that is all of the bad signs. Now, how this movie came to be is in 1978, Kim Jong Il was the head of the propaganda and arts department of North Korea, and he was a big movie buff. More on that later, and wanted to make films. And since North Korea didn't have a film industry, and because they were in self isolation, they couldn't get like anyone to come and make films for them. So under the order of Kim Jong Il, South Korean director Shin Sang-ok and his ex-wife Choi Eun-hee were both kidnapped by North Korean intelligence under Kim Jong il's orders. Now, this wasn't a kidnapping in the traditional sense of throwing a bag over their head and abducting them. Rather, they were tricked into coming to North Korea for a film opportunity under the impression that under the impression that they were being taken somewhere else. They were given luxury accommodations, well, the best luxury accommodations that North Korea could offer, and were forced to make movies. They made 7 films for the North Korean regime, among those being Salt and Love, Love My Love, and Pulgasari was the final movie that Mr. Sang-ok made for the regime before he and his wife were taken to a film festival in Vienna, Austria, where they managed to escape their North Korean captors, made it to an American embassy, and were immediately given political asylum. And Sang-ok eventually got his, and fortunately, Sang-ok actually got a dream of working in Hollywood. Unfortunately, that movie was Three Ninjas Knuckle Up. Yeah, after the living hell this guy went through, being kidnapped by North Korean intelligence, being forced to make movies at gunpoint, likely under threat of execution, and the best that Hollywood could give him was a shitty sequel to a shitty children's martial arts movie. Now, that may have to do with the fact that in that at the time North Korea wasn't as well known or infamous as it is today. Like um now if this sort of thing was to happen today, this guy would probably be now if this sort of thing happened today, North the director probably would have been offered millions and millions of dollars to make a biopic about it. But yeah, now that you know this film's horrific history, the film itself is actually a remake of a 1962 South Korean film called Pulgasari, which which was South Korea's first kaiju film, but unfortunately, due to South Korea being in multiple wars, the film is no known copies exist today, making Pulgasari a lost film. Now, like Pulgasari was set in North Korea, was set in feudal Korea, and and there is and God, this movie is about a blacksmith who finds out that one of his workers has been hiding weapons to help the rebels, and he decides to help the rebels. The king, the evil, tyrannical king finds out and has the blacksmith locked up in prison. And while he's in prison, he makes a he makes an itty bitty sculpture of Pulgasari that's about yay big, and and he prays to the gods, and he prays to the gods that for the creature to come to life, which doesn't happen at first, but the king has him executed, and the blacksmith's daughter, and the blacksmith's daughter the blacksmith's daughter uh comes into possession of the sculpture, accidentally cuts her finger, a drop of blood lands on the Pulgasari doll, which comes to life, and Pulgasari eats only metal, which makes him grow larger and larger, and he's also completely invincible, save for one method, which again I'll get into later. Um, Pulgasari eats metal, and once he gets big enough, the rebels enlist him. The rebels enlist him to help them in battle. And since Pulgasari eats metal, and the opposing army has literally tons of it, Pulgasari keeps growing and growing, and eventually the king decides to squash the rebellion and kidnaps Pulgasari's friend, and to rescue her, Pulgasari gets himself trapped and is buried under rubble by the king. Once the daughter breaks out, she cuts herself, and more blood gets on Pulgasari, which causes him to grow to full-on Godzilla size, and which means he can easily destroy the king's castle and even crushes and kills the king beneath his feet. Unfortunately, since the rebellion had been squashed and Pulgasari is so massive now, he had to eat all the metal that the peasants own, which includes all their farming tools. So Pulgasari is now the threat, and so Pulgasari is now the threat. And to by the way, spoiler alert, if you don't want the movie, and spoiler alert, if you don't want the movie spoiled, mute now, and when I go like this, unmute. So, okay, so mute now. Okay, to those of you that did not want spoilers, Pulgasari is ultimately defeated when the daughter hides inside of a giant bell, and and she rings it. Pulgasari eats it. Somehow realizes he ate his only friend, turns to stone, and freaking explodes. A baby Pulgasari climbs from the rubble, turns into energy, and goes into the girl's dead body, who cries while being dead. Welcome back to those that did not want spoilers. Now, now this movie is now when I first watched this movie, I was feeling the worst because I had seen a review of it and this guy absolutely trashed it. But and from what I was and from that guy's review, the late Emma Prevost, R.I.P. Um, I was expecting the acting and sets and costumes to be the same lines as a fifth grade school play. Fortunately, it's not that bad. And Kim Jong Il actually did get some staff from Toho Studios to work on the film, and they agreed to, under the condition that they be allowed to return to Japan as soon as their work on the as soon as their film on the work was as soon as their work on the film was complete, rather. Now, this movie can be a little creepy because well, after this movie's logo, there's some like music. Now, as much as I would love to play some of that music for you, despite my computer's microphone being able to pick up my voice just fine, it apparently decides to be a little bitch when I tried to when I tried to record sound from an iPad. So it's kind of like it's a kind of like creepy music. I'll include a link to this movie in this video's description. Which, by the way, I actually do recommend you check this film out because, well, at least as a curiosity piece. Because I mean, why? Because I mean, I'd be interested because just so you can see like how North Korea makes a film, like what kind of movies, like how a North Korean film is made, etc. So yeah, I recommend it as a curiosity piece if you also like giant monster movies. Um, this says banned for a decade. Now this means that what that means is that once Shin Sang Ok escaped to the United States, he was the film was banned in North Korea, but in 1999 or 2000, after tensions between North and South Korea had eased and they were kind of like trading stuff, Pulgasari became the very first North Korean film to be released in South Korea, though it bombed at the box office for obvious reasons. And yeah, now one thing I have to note about this VHS, if you ever stumble across a copy of this movie, by the way, good luck. Now apparently this is a screener copy because when watching the film, there's text constantly scrolling across the top of the screen that says screener copy, not for sale, or whatever. That scrolls across the top of the screen constantly, and it's very distracting. Now, thankfully, in the YouTube version, in the link below, it's not there, but yeah, this is a very interesting film. In fact, it's probably the only North Korean film that is accessible to watch here in North America. Now, earlier before I mentioned that Kim Jong Il was a fan of movies, and that's true. In fact, he's seen at least two movies that depict North Korea in a negative light. Those movies being Die Another Day and Team America World Police. Now, he did like surprisingly, especially in the case of Team America World Police, he liked both movies. With Die Another Day, he was impressed. He liked that the main North Korean villain of the film wasn't easily smitten by that movie's Bond girl. And he also liked that North Korea was depicted as being able to pose a credible threat. For Team America World Police, despite having a downright racist depiction of himself, he 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 was able he knew that they weren't being serious. They were just pulling a joke. He thought it was funny, but yeah, not something you would expect from Kim Jong Il, like liking films that make fun of him, but at least he had a sense of humor. Um, his son Kim Jong Un, not so much. But yeah, this is a very interesting film. I recommend you check it out. Like just so you can tell people that you've seen a film from North Korea. Yeah, so yeah, pretty crazy story as to how that movie came to be made. Yeah, pretty crazy story as to how that film came to be made. Yeah. Now, yeah. So, yeah, so, I bid you all a happy Halloween, and, I bid you all a happy Halloween, and, and due to a significant change that will be happening in my life within the next week, I should have a lot more free time to watch movies, film reviews, and stuff like that. So, thank you all for watching this video, and and I wish you all a happy Halloween. And thanks for watching this review, and have a happy Halloween, and I will see you all next time.